FL Studio is a digital audio workstation. It's a powerful tool used by professionals the world over for the creation and production of music. For my passion project, I decided to use it to remix one of my favorite songs, You Don't Know My Name by Alicia Keys. Beyond basic controls like saving files, dragging things about the playlist, and changing the volume, I was starting from square one. It's also important to mention that I also have no knowledge of music theory. So my first instinct was to jump straight in and try to create something with no preparation whatsoever. The first thing I did was find the vocal, instrumental, and complete tracks of You Don't Know My Name. That way, I could throw any part of the song into the mix as I pleased. One surprisingly difficult aspect was matching the tempo of my project to the song. The internet said that the song was 167 beats per minute, but each version I'd found ended up slightly ahead or behind the speed. I had to carefully stretch and squish the song until it was in time with my project. Great! Next, I did some research about the song itself. You Don't Know My Name sampled a song by the main ingredient called Let Me Prove My Love to You. The intro of this song wasn't used in You Don't Know My Name, but I thought it'd be a good opening to my remix, so I downloaded it and added it to my project. I also spliced it and added some filters. I also figured out that the held violin note at the end of You Don't Know My Name would work as a sort of build-up when reversed. So I used it at the very start of my remix. Finally, I come to the point where I'd actually have to make something in FL Studio. A melody, a bass line, a drum pattern, something. I opened up some YouTube tutorials and got to work. I started by following a YouTube tutorial to make a simple 808 sort of bass sound to use for my bass line. Rather than having to use any sort of creative music theory myself, I simply used the root note of each chord in Let Me Prove My Love to You as my bass line. I also changed up the rhythm to make the progression sound a bit more interesting. I did the same thing to make a lo-fi sounding synth for the chord progression in the intro. And I also added some vocal samples from You Don't Know My Name to spice it up. Now that I had a synth, an 808, and I downloaded a couple drum sound effects, things started to speed up. I finished up the intro and got on to the main part of the song. At first, I took inspiration from something odd, old racing game soundtracks. I found that lots of racing games from the 2000s had a jazzy, clubhouse vibe sort of soundtrack that was nostalgic to me. I tried to replicate this in the melody in my remix. Eventually, I found the tone clashed too much with You Don't Know My Name, but playing around with chords and the melody got me to a result which I was pretty happy with. Now that I had the main synth, I spliced up You Don't Know My Name's instrumentals and chucked them in the mix. Then I made a simple sort of drum beat and added in a couple splice samples from the instrumental of You Don't Know My Name. Whenever the main synth played a weird chord that wasn't actually in the song, I dropped the volume of the instrumental so it didn't clash with the synth. To hide the volume change, I added a reversed cymbal crash and a clap right as the volume of the instrumental dropped. I made a simple 808 bass line much the same way I had before and added in some spliced up vocal samples. A little aside, I'm really proud of how the O's came out in the finished product. I just added them in where they sounded good and I think they came out pretty well.